Hey, while I'm by the seashore here at Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and I'm looking out across the Atlantic, it's bringing to mind different war stories that I have in my head because I've done a lot of reading. And one of the war stories is about Jimmy Doolittle. Yes, Jimmy Doolittle was supposedly, he bombed Tokyo about the middle of World War II. That they were on an aircraft carrier and their planes took off from an aircraft carrier, went to Tokyo and bombed Tokyo, supposedly. And basically, according to the war, it really did nothing except inspire people that the Japanese could be bombed. Now remember, his name is Jimmy Doolittle. Doolittle. And that's exactly what it was. It was a Doolittle. So the story gets a little more intense in that one of the crew members by the name of Jake DeShazer was imprisoned by the Japanese. And Jake DeShazer, after the Second World War, went back to Japan to be a missionary and to convert people to the gospel. And so Jake DeShazer had an influence in Japan after the Second World War. Now the story gets even more complicated in that supposedly Jake DeShazer had some pamphlets, and those pamphlets were distributed, and one man after the war got hold of one of those pamphlets, and that one man happened to be none other than the commander who led the attack on Pearl Harbor. I have a video on my channel that shows you how to get to the site where this individual who led the attack on Pearl Harbor from Japan, the Japanese, was on the Mike Douglas show. And supposedly he needed an interpreter. And Mike Douglas said he doesn't speak a word of English. And then the man spoke throughout the entire interview, and the interpreter said little to nothing. It's really hilarious. But check my videos, you'll find it there somewhere. You can actually go on to that particular episode of the Mike Douglas show and watch it. But that shows you how one hoax story is hooked to another hoax story. And it started with Jimmy Doolittle, went to Jake DeShazer, and then went to the commander of the Japanese Air Force that led the attack on Pearl Harbor. Now, Pearl Harbor was just a hoax too, and one of the best ones to watch on that is Dave J. Go to Dave J. And Dave will take on the Pearl Harbor hoax, and it is correct what Dave says. It was just a hoax. Japanese never bombed Pearl Harbor. In fact, if you watch some of my other videos, you'll see that I believe bombing itself is a hoax. So one hoax to another, from the aircraft carrier Jimmy Doolittle. Jake DeSazier, part of the crew, had to bail out and got captured in Japan. And he decided after the war to go back and be a missionary. And some of his pamphlets that he wrote, some of his literature, ended up in the hands of the captain of the Japanese Air Force that supposedly bombed Pearl Harbor and converted him. And again, you can watch him on the Mike Douglas show, and it's a real riot because Mike Douglas screams over and over. He doesn't speak a word of English. And then the entire interview, the man talks in perfectly good English, and the interpreter says little to nothing. So one hoax to another hoax to another hoax that creates a hoax world. So I hope you enjoyed this little chat. As I look out over the Atlantic Ocean, I think of these things, and when I think of them, I want to get them out to you. Thank you for watching. End of video.